Hi, my name is Julian, and thank you for coming to my YouTube channel. We're gonna go ahead and continue part 2 of a 3-part series for texture transferring within Wrap 3D. Please enjoy. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. As you can see from before, we are using Wrap 3D, and we can go ahead and start on the part 2 of a 3-part series right now. Okay, we're going to go to where the graph is. We're going to go hit tab and load geometry. And this one we'll go ahead and rename and call it Metahuman. And then that's from where the texture is coming from, which is the Metahuman Galvin that I created within Unreal 5, and I exported and pulled the texture and then mesh from. Okay, and then we're going to hit tab again, then load, and then we're going to go load image. It's going to be the texture and plug that in. So we're going to hit Metahumans right here, hit the 3 dots. Okay. Here, so we're gonna go to the assets right here. So it'll be Metahumans Galvin is Galvin head 3 open, and we're gonna load single file frame because we don't have multiple facial expressions, so a single is what we do. Okay, and we're gonna go to load image. So that's gonna be the texture map. So from here, we're gonna go here, click on the 3 dots again, down here. Then we're gonna import Galvin's textures. Is here, a beetle map. So now, as you can see, the exclamation mark is gone because everything is working correctly and we are plugged in the correct place. So we're going to go back to the Metahumans node, turn off wireframe, and go up here to the top left again, which is a 3D viewport. So when we click on that and hit F for frame, we'll be able to see the mesh that we imported it, and the Metahuman that we created from Unreal, and then with the textures and bring it into Wrap 3D. Just remember, when you bring it in, it has to be with, it only works as an OBJ, and then you can either do EXR or PNGs and also JPEGs for the textures. Okay, so now that's imported. Everything's good. Okay, we're cool. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the graph right here. Hit tab, load geometry. We're gonna call this Sculpt. Right click and then rename Sculpt. Or the base mesh that you're gonna transfer to the one you create, but just gonna put Sculpt there because it's the mesh I actually built. Then we're gonna click on that, then go to the 3 dots right here, go to 3D assets, and then male neutral head. Click on head wrap 3, and which is the sculpt I did that I actually pre-wrapped already. So it's in lower polygons, but you can also work it with a mesh from an OBJ from Zbrush too. So hit open, go to single frame. Now you can see both meshes. You know how it's not aligned? You don't have to manually do it. I'm going to show you a technique on how to align it within a node-based system, which is part of the full step. So here it goes. So all you got to do is rotate and go, okay, right here, go back to your graph and hit tab, and hit S, E, L, because we're going to look for select point pairs. So what this does is it'll connect the, you're going to create anchor points within between both meshes. So we're going to plug the blue one in, the Metahuman into the first, and then the Sculpt into the second input. Here, click on select point pairs, and then go up here to the top left. Instead of, we're going to get out of viewport 3D and just hit go into visual editor up here. Now you can see both. As you can see, you got to rotate it manually per side. But best thing is right down here where editor is, just click on sync views, and it'll sync views for both meshes right here. And that just makes it easier to work with when you're adding the wrap points. So we're going to go ahead and just basically to align it, you just need 3 points. All right. Because for some reason, not for some reason, but wrap only works off of 3 points to start. So what we're going to do is 1, 2, 3 right there. So 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to go back to where the graph editor is. Now we're going to create another node. And our next node will be called ridge alignment. So you hit tab, hit R, and right here, scroll down, look for ridge alignment right here. So what this does is it will create the alignment between the input of your incoming mesh and to the mesh. So right here, you see the yellow dot, just connect the yellow to yellow. And then Metahuman mesh to the first input, and then the Sculpt to the second input there. And when you go back to 3D viewport, now you see it's 3. So once when you turn off the Metahuman right here, the light bulb on the node, now you can see both meshes are almost perfectly aligned. So we're good to go. And then make sure under ridge alignment, under here, fit to scale. Because if you don't fit to scale, it'll be a little smaller. So now it's pretty much it's close enough to exactly scale of how you want the mesh to be sitting. Okay, next thing we're going to do, see when you turn it off, notice the scale size changes. So if you hit fit to scale, actually, besides aligning it, it'll scale it up to the exact size too. You do the same thing, Houdini works the same way too, especially when you're working in hair or your mesh is a different size. So when you set it up, when you export it, it'll be the exact same size for both. Okay. Now, okay, we're going to go ahead and type in the next node, which will be the select polygons. Actually, we're going to create another select point pairs tab. SEL, select point pairs. So for the second one, so for the ridge alignment, it will go into the first input. And then the Sculpt, which is the base mesh, that will go into the second input. Click on there. Perfect. You're gonna have to click on sync views again under the editor. So now we're gonna use this to create a wrap. But before we do that, to kind of cut down time, for instance, like how they both have mouse sockets right here, and then also eye sockets on both. So when you're wrapping, you want to make sure those are all masked off. because if they're not masked off, what you're going to do is, let's say you have a different mesh that you're going to wrap it to, it's going to actually be very weird. So the reason why we mask it off is when you wrap it, it'll keep the areas from wrap. For instance, like your mouse socket, if you don't mask it, it'll just wrap it into shape of the lips, which that you don't want. You want to keep those vertices within the same. So we're going to go back to the visual editor right now, the graph editor, and hit tab. Then we're going to type in SEL, and we're going to go look for select polygons right here. And from there, we're going to plug in the Metahumans, the blue input there. So right when you plug it in, under the visual editor now, the mesh will pop up. You notice the mouse socket is in red, the eyes are blue, and when you hit Alt, left mouse button, you click. So these are the polygroups that I created within Zbrush, and on the bottom, notice they're red. So and then the whole head is green. To make it easier, so now we're gonna select the polygroups. That's why it's best before you import it in, you prepare it and then create the polygroups, or else you're gonna have to manually select the faces. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of roughly show you how that works. So we're gonna go back up here to Metahumans and turn on the wireframe. Go to select polygons. And when you hit Shift, click, and those are all the faces that you have to select, which look how long it's gonna take, right? It's gonna take forever for you to do it. But because I have polygroups, you can either do it manually and select it. That's one way to do it. Or you can go up here. Just go up here, right here, back up here to Metahumans, turn off the wireframe. Or the other way to do it is, you see the plus symbol right there, where it says plus polygroups. Click on that. Group 1 will be for the eyes, actually the mouse socket, sorry. When you click on that, it'll select the mouse sockets right there and hit on the plus button right there, the polygroups. And the second one should be the eyes. Oops, sorry. Right there, and then the third one should be for the eyes. Right there. So that's all that needs to be selected. So now we can go ahead and create the fast wrap. But normally you do a regular wrap, but then actually no. Before we start wrapping, we're actually going to set the anchor points for the texture transfer right now. We're going to go back to select point pairs. Now, you don't have to leave the visual editor. So now we're going to go ahead and create the transfer points right there. Okay, we're going to start off by doing the main 3 like before. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do the eyes next. Eyes is a little tedious, so I'm not going to do too detailed. This is just kind of like a rough way, kind of rough out where the eyes are. So we're going to go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Just remember when you're doing this, the more points you put down, the tighter and the more accurate that wrap will be. But this is just a quick demo of how to really roughly to get it to work. So we're going to go 9, 10, 11, 10 and 11. We're going to do the other eyes, which is go 5 on top, 12, 14, 15, 16, 12. You notice 13, 14, 15, and 16. You notice when you select it, now how it turns red like that. The reason why the dot is red on 17 is because it's not matched up with the right side. So when we hit 17 on here, notice it just turns white. So that's how you know when the next one is to add it in. So 18, 18, 19, and then do the nose. 20, 21, 2, 20, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7. I'm gonna probably do one underneath here for it to be tighter, more accurate for the nose. 828. Let's do the lips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Normally I would do more for the lips, but this is a quick demo. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 35, 8, 9, 40, 8, 9, 40. Okay. 1 and 3, 9, 40, 41. Zoom in. 42, 43, 44, 42, 43, 44. Okay, we're going to do the ears. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Same as here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 9, 50, 1, 2. Gotta do it probably chin, and probably a couple on the where the jawline is right here. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 in 2. And now you can see it's a little off right here, so you can just move that up. And that's good. All right. Do that roughly there. Okay. So now there's normally, sometimes it should be about 100, but you know, it depends. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and go back to the graph. We're gonna create the next step, which is a fast wrap. So we're gonna go hit tab, then hit FA, and then scroll down. First one should be fast wrapping. So we're gonna click on that. Same thing. Everything's all color coded to make it easier. When they first came out with wrap, it was similar, but a little different. We're gonna go ahead and select polygons. That'll go to the pink one, which is the last one, and select point pairs, which is yellow. And then it'll go to the second to the last. And then your sculpt, or the base mesh, where it's going to, will always connect to the second one. And then the ridge alignment is where the first will go to the first one. So as you can see, you see both meshes. It's a little off right now, but when you zoom out right here, now we're gonna do the wrap. In order to start the wrap, all you gotta do is go down here, the editor, and click on compute. Depending how fast your system is, that's how long it's gonna take for the wrap to happen. Normally, because I have a higher end system, it takes about 30 seconds to a minute at the most for the wrap, depending on how heavy you want the wrap to be. So when you hit compute, go ahead and now you can see it in real time how the wrap's gonna work. Okay. Like what I told you, it takes between 30 seconds to 30 to 40 seconds. And now your wrap is done. So the next step is I'm gonna hit tab. We're gonna create a secondary select polygons. I'm gonna hit tab and then SEL. Go here and hit select polygons. So this select polygons will go from the sculpt or the base mesh where it's coming from. So when you see that, you notice I have the polygroups already set up for it. Remember before, we can just hit either hit shift, double click, and that's selected, shift, double click, and then that will select the polygroups. Cut time down. So from here, this is where we're gonna start doing the texture transfer. So the next node we're gonna set up is the texture transfer node, which is tab, TEX, texture transfer. So now you see there's 3 input. Now you know why I have the select polygons, because those areas that are selected, which will be masked, will not be transferred for the textures for the eye socket and the mouth sockets. We're going to plug that into the pink, which is the last one. And then the base mesh, which is the sculpt, we're going to plug the second 2 into the second input on the texture transfer. And then from where the wrap that we just did, that will go directly into the main first input. And then underneath where the editor is, depending on what size you want it, but I normally would go for 4K, so that would be 4096. But it normally automatically sets at 1024, but you can always change it. So for 4096 tab, and then it, and then have limited distance checked. So this way the projection will be pretty accurate. So when you're transferring, basically what it does is this, basically what it does is it projects the textures from one mesh to the other mesh. So we're gonna hit tab again under graph. Then we're gonna hit extra, T, and then it'll be the first one, extrapolate image. So this is what's gonna create the image for the output from the texture transfer. Okay, like that. Then you can go ahead and hit tab again. And then S, save image. So now we're gonna export it. And then after you export it, I'm gonna show you how it's gonna, I'm gonna plug it in and then show you how it's gonna look like when it's plugged in. So we're gonna plug it into there, under save image, and then to save it, you go to editor right here, and then click on the three dots. So now we're gonna give it a file name. Go ahead and add. Notes. Okay, so we're gonna do a text transfer 3. Those are the previous ones I did a test on, but we're gonna do a text transfer 3, and then .png, save it, and then make sure underneath where it says pixel type auto, just click on compute current frame. So when you click on that, that will generate the texture that we just did the transfer for. So in order, I'm gonna go ahead and show you right now. So you can see here in this file, that's the texture transfer that we just did, going from the Metahuman to the sculpt that we created. Okay, I'm gonna turn that off. Those off. The light bulbs. We're gonna go ahead and just kind of quickly show you real quick. Tab, load geometry, and then we're gonna go under file name right here, the three dots under editor. There, and then we're gonna go back up, assets, and neutral head 3. So we did transfer to neutral head 3. So load. Okay. And we're gonna turn the wireframe off. Hit tab, select DL, select. Oh, sorry. Be load image. Plug that in. Make sure that node is selected. The three dots under editor. And test transfer 3, which is your PV maps. There. And load a single file. Okay, and then we're gonna go back up here go back to the viewport editor 3D. Now you can see that the texture fits perfectly. It's a little off. You gotta do a little more cleanup, especially back here. Okay. For the next one, I'm going to actually show you how to clean that up within either Substance Painter and Photoshop. So, and pretty much it. Oh, one thing I didn't mention before. So when you go back to the Sculpt, or turn that off. So when you go back to either mesh right here, an explanation, right, under 2D viewport, that whichever mesh you're working on, that is how you see your UV layout. Doesn't matter, you know, for instance, for your clothes, body, but this is just for the head. And same thing as for that too. You can see, so that's the UV layout included with the textures, because for the sculpt there was no texture. We actually created a texture for it. So let's go back and here. And okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's pretty simple. I know it can be a little overwhelming if this is your first time working in Wrap 3D, but it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy if you're familiar with node systems in either Houdini, Blender, or any type of 3D software. This is pretty adaptable and really easy to learn. So in the next video, I'll be showing how to do the cleanup for this within Photoshop and Substance Painter too. And if you have any future ideas, just DM me or message me on YouTube, and I'll go ahead and make videos for you. Thank you. See you on the next video. Thanks.